Moonshot have just gone and put the largest open weight model anybody has ever shipped straight onto the open internet. 2.8 trillion parameters. Nothing else that you're actually allowed to sit down and download comes anywhere near it. And the terminal coding agent that it drives has a rung right at the bottom of its pricing page that costs absolutely nothing at all. It reads your whole repository, writes itself out a plan, edits the files, and then goes and runs your tests with no card on file anywhere. There are 3 separate ways into this thing. Only one of them is genuinely free, and it is not the one that everybody points at. Moonshot AI put the complete set of weights up 11 days after the launch under a license that they went off and wrote entirely for themselves. Nothing that size ever runs all at once. Every single token you send in wakes one tiny slice of that network and leaves the entire rest of the thing fast asleep. So the whole thing behaves like a model a small fraction of its size, while still having every last bit of it sitting right there to reach into the second a question actually needs it. And this is the part that genuinely matters here. It is not an endpoint that you rent by the month. It is a pile of actual files that you get to download and take away. One of these you can pull apart, inspect, and change around to suit yourself. The other one you can only ever send requests off to and then hope. The window on it is just over 1 million tokens. Claude Code hands you 1/5 of that number on the subscription plans that most people are actually out there paying for. Moonshot's own published numbers put it right up near the top of the pile on hard reasoning, on browsing the open web, and on driving a terminal completely by itself. Run that exact same model on somebody else's evaluation harness though, and roughly 3 of those points quietly go missing somewhere along the way. Route 1, the terminal agent itself, coming straight from the same people who trained the model. One single shell script, no account, no key, no card anywhere at all. About a minute later, there's a working agent sitting there in your terminal. Then you log in, either straight through the browser or with a platform key instead. If you happen to already have one of those lying around, point it at a repository and it starts reading, not one file at a time either. It goes off and takes in the shape of the entire project first, before it commits to deciding anything at all. Then it stops and shows you the plan before it has gone and touched a single line of anything, which is honestly the single bit that makes the thing usable on real work. The bottom rung of that whole ladder costs nothing at all to sit on. What nobody anywhere will actually tell you is how much of it you get to use before the whole thing quietly stops. So you end up finding that ceiling the hard way by going and hitting it. And when the model is genuinely busy, everybody in the world finds it at exactly the same moment. It is easily the fastest way there is to go and try this model, and comfortably the least predictable way to actually depend on it day to day. Route 2, whatever coding client it is that you already happen to be sitting inside of right now. The API speaks the same shape as everybody else's, same path, same body, same streaming behavior, and exactly one single value inside the whole of it actually changes. 2 environment variables. That is genuinely the entire migration, and it works in more or less anything that you have already gone and set up. Or 4 keys in a settings file if your editor would much rather have config than environment variables. Either way, nothing else in the whole setup has to move, which means every terminal agent and every editor that already knows how to talk to a hosted model will happily talk to this one, with no plugin and no waiting around for support. And this is where the free story quietly stops. There is no free key for this particular model anywhere at all. $3 per million going in, $15 coming back out. The one thing that really takes the edge off it is caching. Send the very same context back through a second time, and the input side of that build just falls completely off a cliff. So no, this route is not the free one, it is portable. It has no ceiling on it at all, and it lands in the editor you already live inside. And route 3, go and run the whole thing yourself on your own metal and pay absolutely nobody. This is the point where free starts getting expensive. The minimum anybody sensibly recommends for actually serving it is 8 of the very biggest cards that Nvidia currently sells, and it would have been a great deal worse. Moonshot trained the model small rather than squeezing it down afterwards, which is exactly why the thing ships at about 1/3 of the size. And even then, that is most of a working day sat waiting on a genuinely fast home connection before you have pushed one single token through the thing. Once it is down, the serving stack is the boring part. Point VLLM or OLlama at the folder and then wait for the shards to load. And then you find out that the same weights are not the same speed. Who is actually hosting it turns out to matter far more than most people would ever expect it to. Nothing ever leaves the building, and that is worth serious money to some people. To absolutely everybody else, it is a shelf full of GPUs. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this. Now back to the video. 1 million tokens sounds completely abstract right up until you feed it something real. A decent sized working codebase lands somewhere around the 600,000 token mark. So the whole repository goes in there at once, and the agent finally stops having to guess which small handful of files happen to be the relevant ones today, and it does hold up in there. Moonshot report it's still finding exactly what it needs with the entire window loaded right up to the top and nothing whatsoever trimmed away from it first. Long context leaderboards are a good deal less generous. The part of any window that you can genuinely lean on sits a long way under whatever gets advertised. Speed is stranger still. The host that finishes a job first is very often not the host that starts it first, and starting is the only bit you actually sit there and feel. None of any of that matters unless the loop actually holds together. Read the code, write out a plan, edit it, run the tests on it, and then go straight back around again from the top. This is the point where a coding model stops being a benchmark score. Dozens and dozens of tiny calls in a row, and every single one of them can quietly come back wrong on you. It handles a change that is spread right across half a dozen different files in one go, which is genuinely the one thing that separates a working agent from a very good autocomplete. The edits come out surgical rather than as a full rewrite, and it holds on to the shape and the style and the conventions of whatever file it happened to be handed in the first place. Then it goes and runs the test that you already had sitting there, reads carefully through whatever failed, and goes straight back in again to fix it. That loop is the entire product right there. And when it does go wrong, it tends to go wrong by simply repeating itself. The same edit over and over and over again until somebody actually in the room finally goes and stops it. So then, straight up against the thing most of you are already paying for every single month. And the split here is a lot cleaner than either camp would really like it to be. 5 times the window on an ordinary plan, a rung that costs nothing whatsoever to sit on, and a set of weights that literally nobody anywhere can ever come and take back off you. On long multi-step work, the two of them trade the lead back and forth, and they stumble in genuinely different places rather than one of them simply trailing the other one. But it gets there in fewer passes. It holds the shape of a big file rather better under pressure, and there is never a queue of other people sitting there waiting at the door. And raw speed here is not really the model's at all. It is the host's moonshot's own endpoint happens to be the slowest one that anybody has actually measured. So it is not better at everything, and nobody should be pretending that it is. It is better at the things that cost you money, and it is worse at the things that cost you patience. Free capacity is always shared capacity. The moment that model gets genuinely busy, the free tier is always the very first thing that starts sitting around in a queue somewhere else. And unless you're running those weights yourself, every single file that the agent touches is going straight off your machine and over to somebody else's servers. So the money that you save comes straight back out of your afternoon instead, and that trade is completely fine for as long as it is one that you actually meant to make. If you're just trying it, take the free tier, using it every single day, go and pay for the tokens. And if the code is simply not allowed to leave, then you already know the answer to this one. The biggest open model anybody has ever shipped, and comfortably the cheapest serious way there is to drive one of them. Go and point it at something real.